This is Origami in Action, Paper Toys That Fly, Flap, Gobble, and Inflate by Robert J. Lang. So I like that this is a fairly large format book so that you get to see the pictures in reasonably good detail. Let's take a look. So we've got traditional flapping bird, flapping butterflies, barking wolves, inflatable water bombs, cootie catcher. So some of these are fairly traditional things that many of us learned to do in elementary school. But then other of the shapes are more interesting, kicking otter. So there's a good breadth of things that people can start with the simpler things and then work up to more complicated things. He talks a bit about the different origami terms, about creases and about the open side and the closed side. So even if you're new to origami, you can figure out what a valley fold and a mountain fold and some of these kinds of things are. And then he goes into not quite so easy folds, the reverse folds and the petal folds. So you can start with the super easy things and then you can work into the things like sink folds that are a little more complicated, but are things that, most people who do origami get a hang of fairly easy on. And if you get stuck with one of the types of shapes, then you can usually go on YouTube and take a look for how do you do a sink fold or how do you do a petal fold, and you'll get some help 3 dimensions with it. I like that they do things right in order. There are some books that leap around for strange graphic design reasons. These go straight in order so that you can see they're all numbered exactly what step to do next. I don't like that their pictures are in black and white of the image. You're trying to aim for this thing and you want to get a nice clear image in color so that you can see the different dimensions and the inside paper and the outside paper. So that's a very strange decision, especially since clearly they're doing this in color. So there's no reason to have done that picture in black and white. So we've got flapping butterflies. They're reasonably good pictures that show you the dimensionality of how to wrap something around a finger or how to do things in 3 dimensions. Part of the challenge when you're doing origami is how to show in 2 dimensions on a piece of paper how something is laid out when something is going to end up being a 3-dimensional shape. So I think they do a reasonably good job in this. This is a challenge with any origami book versus a YouTube video or something. But they show you the different directions that the characters are moving, the different folds that you're trying to make. But you do have to start to learn what it means when you have a dashed line, what it means you have a solid line, what these little turn signals mean when you're doing something like that. So you're going to have to learn some of these types of origami instructions, but that's going to be true no matter what kind of origami book you work with. So in general, you get brown pictures for what you are doing. You get black and white pictures of what the end result is. And again, I'm just not sure why they made that decision of only going with brown and black and white, because I think this would have been much more helpful if you had a couple of full color pictures in here to really be able to see how this looks in each of the different stages instead of just having the drawings. And a cootie catcher, this is also called a fortune teller and a bunch of things. They could have explained all the different ways that this type of shape is used. People use it for puppets. Harlequin cookie catcher. Talking mouse mask. So there's a range of shapes in here, and they're cute. Kicking frog, wagging tail doggy, butterflies, hovercrafts. So some of these are things that you would see in lots of other books, but then some of these, swimming manatee are a little more unique. And if you really like to make these kinds of shapes that move and do things, then this is, Tyrannosaurus Rex. Look at the teeth on that. So there's some that are fairly complicated. It even says this is a very difficult model and that you should use thin, crisp paper. So he helps you with the paper choices. But by the time you get to making something like this with all these teeth, I think that you've probably got a sense of working through the simpler shapes and what kind of paper works better and what kind of folding skill you have and what you need to practice with. So this one has 92 steps. That's clearly not one of the simpler shapes. Let's see how many this one has. So that one had 67 steps. So a good range, enough that someone who's getting started can start with the simple shapes. Look at the number of folds in this. You can start with the simple shapes, get a hang of those, and then work your way to these more complicated shapes. And if you don't want to ever go in this direction because you're just not that interested in making something with this number of folds, that's fine. You stay with the simpler ones and you are quite happy with the simpler ones, and you don't try to do something like this because it's just not what you're interested in. So, a good range of options. I wish it had been full color, but it does its job all right with the two-tone color process that it took. And definitely for people who like to do moving kinds of shapes and who want to have a physical book to be able to sit and study and stare at, this is a good one to work with. So well recommended.